Yeah, I said it yesterday, and we might continue the conversation a little bit today. The Eagles are basically a victim of their own success. We're going to talk about this a little bit more today, a little bit more in detail today. Turns out I'm not the only one that thinks this. And actually, I'm far from the only one that thinks this. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about my poll that I ran on Twitter earlier this week about who's to blame for this current situation that we're in right now. Who's to blame the most? Got over 1,300 votes on Twitter. So we'll go over that poll as well. Trending in the AM on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live with your thoughts and opinions in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever it is. Hit all those buttons and get in the conversation. And yes, we are live and taking comments again. Like I said yesterday, we're back on Twitter live, back accepting questions. You got comments, thoughts on our Philadelphia Eagles or anything going on. It's great to be back on Twitter. Almost 500 people watched on Twitter alone yesterday. So, welcome back, Twitter world. Hope you're all doing well. I am your host, Phil Stiefel, here every single morning at Trending in the AM. You can shoot me a follow on any social media platform. If I'm on it at Bearded Knowledge. I'd greatly appreciate that as well. We got a shortened, abbreviated version of Trending in the AM today. Got to get to the pizza shop a little early today, so we're only going to run about an hour and 10 minutes today, depending on the conversation. But we've got a jam-packed show of conversation today and points today to discuss. So we got to get started first with the two topics that I want to cover mainly today. One, I want to get back into the conversation that we started yesterday that this Eagles team is a victim of their own success. And what I mean by a victim of their own success is, kind of pulled it out a little bit yesterday, about the fact that this Eagles team started a rebuild not too long ago. A rebuild retool. It was supposed to take about 3 years till this team got any form of contention, new coach, young quarterback, unsure about the coach, unsure about the quarterback. And then 2022 happened and came out of nowhere. You know, everybody catapulted to the top instantly. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. We weren't even supposed to be at this point. Are they a victim of their own success? Have the Eagles players lost focus because they're a victim of their own success? Lots of different angles to take with that. So I want to talk about that for sure today. The next big thing I want to discuss today is I've got a poll question. I put it out on Tuesday morning before the show or Monday night after after the game. I forget when I started this poll. But we're over 1,300 votes. Who's to blame the most for the Eagles' 3-game losing streak? Who's to blame the most for the loss in Seattle? Both kind of roped into it. So we're going to go over the results of that poll question and see what people think. Phil is our MC of Eagles news. I'm not, you know, I'm not a news breaker. I hate to break it to you. I don't break the news. I don't have sources. I don't have sources at all. I just kind of wing it and go with you guys, go with the flow with you guys here. But yes, I am not, repeat, not the source of news here. Definitely not. So let's get into this conversation of the are we a victim of our own success? I mean, we could start with say Nick Sirianni because again, I wasn't sure if when we brought this up yesterday, how much I even agreed with my own idea. And then, I put it in the Philadelphia Sports Network group chat, and turns out, lo and behold, Mr. Brian Cameron, lead Eagles writer, one of their lead editors there at PSN, also wrote an article similar stating the same thing. After the 2021 season, there were very few Eagles fans that were 100% sold on Nick Sirianni, that were 100% sold on Jalen Hurts. Hell, there's still coming into this season after the Super Bowl, there's still some people not sold on these guys. But yet, making that run that they made really kind of, sped the process up a little bit, sped up the expectations of this team. If this team last year gets eliminated in the second round of the playoffs, let's just do a hypothetical. Say they lose their first playoff game last year, or they lose in the championship game to the 49ers, just say, hypothetically speaking. The expectations coming in this year would have been a little bit different. But they exceeded expectations so much last year that it changed the perception of what this team needed to be this year. The players started hearing the hype. The players, the coaches started seeing the extras that come with success. Jalen Hurts, obviously, big contract. Nick Sirianni, you're seeing more and more of him all over. But realistically speaking, we're only in Nick Sirianni's third year as a head coach. He was only an offensive coordinator for 1 or 2 years even. So he's still a young, improving guy. And you're starting to see some of the immaturity of some of these players and coaches. You're starting to see the lack of experience from some of these people. I mean, hell, I don't know if you guys saw any of Nick Sirianni's press conference yesterday, day after the game presser. I didn't watch the whole thing. I caught some of the highlights and some of the clips from it. Let me tell you something. Nick Sirianni looks frustrated. Nick Sirianni looks concerned. Nick Sirianni looks like he doesn't know what he's doing 100%. And I'm going to bring up an example. Again, get your comments in the comments section if you're interested in this topic or any topic Eagles related. Drop those comments, those questions, those thoughts. And if you're watching on Twitter, click the video, and it brings up a place where you can chat and drop your comments. If you click on the video, just if you're, make it a full screen thing there, just so you know. So Nick Sirianni was asked about the deep ball to the deep ball to AJ Brown. He was asked about it. And his response was that they were playing for a passive interference call. Now, I don't think he meant it exactly as we're interpreting it. I don't think he called a play specifically hoping for a passive interference. I think we're overreading it a little bit. But he definitely called the play with the backup thought process that, well, if it doesn't work, we'll probably get a passive interference call, and that's just as good. It's all about perception. And the way he answered that question just proves how lost he is in connecting with this fan base. We don't want to hear excuses like that. I agree. But frustration will be there with 3 L's back to back to back, obviously. We just need to lock in. That's fine. And I get that. And I think to an extent, I'm trying to convince myself to feel this way. Yeah, we lost 3 games in a row. It happens. I never thought Jalen Hurts would let this team lose 3 in a row, but he did. And the frustration is setting in. The cracks are forming. But the thing is, if we didn't have the success we had in the past, if we weren't Super Bowl team last year, expecting to get back to the Super Bowl this year, making it back-to-back years, if we didn't have that, would we be as frustrated at this moment with the 3-game losing streak? If we still hadn't got to that pinnacle yet of playing in the Super Bowl recently. That's where I think that this team hurt. I'm not saying it hurt himself by going, we always won a Super Bowl, but them, the excessive success they had last year, the overachieving last year, I think that's the better way to put it. the overachieving last year is why we're so frustrated with the underachieving this year, if that makes sense. Eagles are victim of playing every good team in the league. And I think that's a fair statement and point as well. I mean, that's all we talked about all offseason, right? Leading into the season, how difficult the Eagles' schedule is, how they have to play the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys twice, Seattle, all in a row. I mean, most people, I had done this. I haven't done this in a while. Let me see how far back I would have to go, where my season prediction was for this year. It's got to be around here somewhere in my notes. I know I had a lot of the games predicted right early in the season. There's my 53-man roster predictions. Reddick's thumb. So maybe I went too far. I don't know here. Somewhere here. But I know I had them 10-3. I don't remember if I had them winning the Seattle game or not, but it was pretty close. That was pretty close to spot on through the first few weeks of the season with their schedule. Here it is. I actually had them. I had them losing to the Jets, losing to the Cowboys, losing to Seattle, and losing to Buffalo, not the 49ers, and then winning out, going for 13-4. That's what I had. So honestly, I thought this was a Super Bowl winning team. Okay, at 13-4. When I predicted the Eagles to lose, and so out of their 4 losses, I've called 3 of their 4 losses. Now, I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be the Jets quarterback during that loss that I picked there, but still, that's not saying it. I had them at 13-4. I had them winning their last 3 games to get to 13-4. But the way they're underachieving after the way they overachieved last year has caused a bit of an excessive frustration among the fan base. So that, to an extent, it's not that they're a victim of their own success. It's their success or their ascension that they had last year has put us all in a position to be disappointed with how they're performing this year. And they will be. They should be 13-4. The problem is, coming off of these 3 straight losses, it's very hard to be confident as a fan that they are going to do the same thing that they're just going to run the table. Tommy DeVito and the Giants. This is the Eagles. It's always a division game. Tough game. I don't know if I can just guarantee that they're going to win, but that's because of the 3 losses in a row. If you take the 3 losses away and you just look at the Eagles on paper versus the Giants, yeah, the Eagles should win those games. Landon Dickerson had surgery. He's going to be out now for a week or 2. So now we're going to have Tyler Steen and Sua Opeta starting on Christmas Day. There's your Christmas present, Eagles Nation. Sua Opeta and Tyler Steen, your starting guards on Christmas Day. That's going to be exciting. No, nobody special. Just yeah. How does Man Chatter not know you? You've been only commenting every week for how long now? So yeah, is that the thing? And I ran a poll question this week, and I'm going to share it. Present, share screen. That's not it. That's it right there. Here's the poll question that I ran. Let's see. When did I post this? I posted this on Tuesday morning, before the show started, 7:27 a.m. Okay, over 1,300 votes. Who do you blame the most for the Eagles' loss and the 3-game losing streak? Vote, whatever. Give reasons. So this is not a small sample size. This is over 1,300 Eagles and football fans voting on this poll. 38.8% of the people blame Jalen Hurts and his hero ball mentality for the last 3 weeks. 34.6%, Brian Johnson and the play calling. Almost 22% blame Nick Sirianni, and then around 5% said other. Most of the others were all of the aboves or 2 out of the 3. Most of them did not blame other than those 3 people for the problems. And I want to dive into these 3 individuals that could be to blame on this poll here, because I think they're all linked. I think the all of the above is a very fair answer. I mean, Jalen Hurts has to stop playing hero ball. We blame Brian Johnson's play calling, but yet Jalen Hurts is making mistakes on his play calls. The players are making mistakes on his play calls. Jalen Hurts is not reading the field well enough. He's going deep every time. He's zoning in on A.J. Brown every time. He's got guys underneath open. But is that the play calling telling him to go deep, or is that him misreading a play as it's developing? Nick Sirianni not holding Brian Johnson or Jalen Hurts accountable. Nick Sirianni not properly addressing the defensive coordinator situation. Just so you know, it was reminded yesterday that Sean Desai is still the defensive coordinator. And Matt Patricia is now calling Sean Desai's plays, just like Brian Johnson calls Nick Sirianni's plays. But yet today, when the coordinators speak with the media, as they always do, Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator, is not speaking to the media. Matt Patricia is taking the defensive coordinator interview spot or presser spot. So there's a lot of miscommunication going around all over the place in this organization. So who's to blame? Is it Nick Sirianni for not keeping the band together? Is it Nick Sirianni's fault that he's not being as transparent as possible with the team, the fans, the media? Like, if he's so non-transparent with what's going on behind the scenes with us, imagine how it's coming across in the locker room. Is this the start of this locker room losing Nick Sirianni if he's the reason? If there's no continuity behind the scenes, nobody knows who's in charge of the offense, the defense. When Jalen Hurts talks about the lack, not everybody committed, is that because these players see the cracks in the armor of this team forming? There's so much that goes into it. So, yes, you could blame Jalen Hurts. And the fact that Jalen Hurts is getting the majority of the blame in this poll, 38.8% out of 1,300 people. That's probably about 600 people voted for Jalen Hurts as the problem. 550, something like that. Tell me people are blaming his hero ball complex, his interceptions, his fumbles as the lone reason that we're losing. And I think he's part of the puzzle. But it might not all be on him. Looks like the play calling, because why go for the deep ball when we needed short yardage? So here's the question, though, Davon. Now, it might be the play call. It very well might be, for sure. Maybe, if anything, it might be the play call, the design of the play call. Jalen Hurts loves going deep. Jalen Hurts loves looking for the A.J. Brown deep, right? But all these play calls that we're making mistakes on, there's underneath guys that are wide open on these plays. There is. I'm going to take the poll question up off the screen for now. I'll put it back up if anybody needs to see it. I mean, like the one, I don't know if it was the Quez Watkins or the A.J. Brown play towards the end of the game. Devontae Smith was wide open under the middle. So there were two routes that Jalen Hurts could have chose. But Jalen Hurts chose the deep ball over the underneath route. Another one, there was a play where Kenneth Gainwell was wide open and could have ran for a first down. But he went deep on it. So Smith was on one, Kenneth Gainwell was on the other, on the Quez Watkins and A.J. Brown passes. Now the question is the play designed for him to go deep and the underneath routes are there as a distraction? Or are those deep routes there to distract for the underneath and Jalen's making the wrong read? I don't know. So maybe the play calling isn't a problem. Maybe the play design's a problem. Don't want Jalen Hurts throwing deep. Don't call a play with a guy running deep down the field. Or tell Jalen he's got to make that first read over the middle versus deep. There's so much that's going into it. And I think it's a combination. Like, I didn't leave all the above as a problem or a reason. But the fact that so many people want to pick one person to blame and not just say it's everybody's fault. It's all three people at the top. It's Nick Sirianni not keeping the band together properly, not fixing the crack in the windshield quickly enough. It's, him designing the offense. Brian Johnson calling the wrong plays. Not coaching Jalen Hurts up enough to understand what he's supposed to do in these situations. Think about this also. we're like a year removed from people saying Jalen Hurts wasn't a franchise quarterback. Now, I don't want to get into his contract that we spent so much time talking about yesterday that the contract's the problem. But, you know, he was still going into last year a learning, growing quarterback. He's only in his third year as a starter. It's not like he's been starting in the NFL for like 9 years now. He's still a young player. And he needs coaching to an extent. He soaks up and seeks coaching. But if there's a disconnect between your head coach and your coordinator and cracks form in the locker room, it's very hard. If you don't have somebody there to coach him. I know. Where is everybody today? Nobody comment today. It's okay. The algorithm the last 2 days, Dave, has been off. I'm not sure what I did. I tried to switch it up today with a different graphic and thumbnail for today, but it didn't work. Looks like the play calling, because why go for the deep ball when we needed short yards? But again, okay, so I put that up there. But yeah, again, is it the play calling or is it Jalen? Because all those play calls, like I said, have underneath routes. Put up your power rankings in the background again. I don't know. That's too many. It'll take me too long to find them again. The deep ball at the end was stupid again, and Nick Sirianni's response of, well, we were hoping for a passive interference call, is a problem. It's a major problem when you're calling a play with half your plan being just to get an interference call. That's not what you want to hear from your coach. Where is the court? I don't know. The rapture must have happened for sure. There was so stupid. When it was in the air, I walked away, called it. Yeah, we knew that it wasn't the right decision. Now, on the flip side of the equation, that play gets completed. We brag about how great Jalen Hurts is at making those deep throws. So there's another side to it. Don't understand why he threw that after the safety got him early. Well, and again, the Quez Watkins interception should have been called interference. The Quez Watkins play shouldn't have happened, but it should have been interference. If you have a better wide receiver out there that can play through contact, at the very least, it should have been an incomplete pass because he should have been able to play. But, I mean, he was literally pushed off the ball so easily. So there's a lot wrong with the Quez Watkins play. Hell, Quez Watkins should not. I mean, I said it before the season started when I did the 53-man rosters and where we had weaknesses before the season that they needed to upgrade. The fact that Lamade Zaccheaus had like 5 snaps on offense. But Quez Watkins had like 25, 30 last week. Or this week, I guess it technically was. Like, in what world should Quez Watkins have that many snaps? Like, somebody shared the numbers. I think it was Shane Half. I forget who, though. What Jalen Hurts' numbers are this year when he throws to Quez Watkins over 20 yards down the field. It's like 0 for 6 with like 3 interceptions. Like, small sample size. But, man, can we just get Quez Watkins off the field? I said it from the beginning. He wasn't the answer. And Quez Watkins showed on Monday night that just being fast does not make you a good wide receiver. You got to track the ball. You got to be able to out-muscle your defensive, the guy defending you. You got to know. You got to have so much awareness around you that it's frustrating. It really is. Should have never called that play. Again, is it that the play shouldn't have been called or that Jalen Hurts ran the play incorrectly? And I'm not saying, I agree it shouldn't have been called. Just let me forewarn you. I agree it was the wrong call. Said it then, said it now. That's fine. But because, you think about it, you run plays with distractions in them or deception in them. Is the deep route supposed to be the deception on that play? Jalen Hurts messed it up somehow, went deep instead of the guys underneath. Again, I don't remember whether the A.J. Brown one had Devontae Smith or Kenneth Gainwell, and the Quez had the other one. But there was an underneath route open for a first down. Keep the clock running. All you had to do is get into field goal range to tie the game up. You had timeouts. So the question is the play the right play? Jalen Hurts is just not running it correctly? Or is it the call? Or is it a combination of both? And I think, no offense, Brian Johnson's not having the greatest year as an offensive coordinator, obviously. But also, Brian Johnson was the quarterback coach. He was the one coaching up Jalen on the side every single day. He's not doing that. He's so busy calling plays, and running the entire offense that he's not there to coach up Jalen Hurts anymore. Is that part of the issue as well? Huge problem. Depending on a flag, sounds crazy. Look at the outcome. Look, the fact that Nick Sirianni had to say this is shocking to me. It really is. It's shocking that Jalen Hurts or that Nick Sirianni had to come out and say that. Oh, well, we were playing for the pass interference. And yesterday's show was we can't trust Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts or the Eagles anymore. And, when he's making those kind of excuses, that's frustrating sounding. That proves we can't trust him. We know you're not playing. You don't call a play hoping for a penalty. So that means you don't know what to tell the media. That means you don't know what the answer to the problem is. That tells me that you're trying to take the blame. It's, for someone else's mistake. So that's a problem. Phil doesn't want to give the flu excuse. I am not using like I said on Tuesday morning. You show up and you play. You play. If you can't go, you can't go. But once you dress and get on that field, there are no excuses. To me, I've been done with Quez for a very long time. Terrence Watkins, yeah, I don't even know. A lot of people hate when I say this, but they need to sit Bradbury. Well, after the last game, the way Kellen Ringo, the way Sidney Brown, the way Eli Ricks all played, there's an argument to be made when Darius Slay is back that you do sit him. While Darius Slay is out, you can't sit him at this point. But yes, he is an issue at this point, Bradbury. But honestly, you're not going to start Ricks, Ringo, and Joby at this point. So you kind of need Bradbury at least till Darius Slay is back. And there's more miscommunication. And who's to blame for this team? The fact that, again, I will say it again, the fact that we keep hearing Sean Desai is still the defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia is just calling the plays. And then after the game, again, Sean Desai is still the defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia is calling Sean Desai's plays, which makes no sense whatsoever. So that just proves that Nick Sirianni doesn't know what he's saying. That shows that there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of issues internally with this team. Us fans are victims of their success. We have been entitled. See, I don't know if we're entitled per se. I mean, it's not like we've once, like Cowboys fans are entitled because they feel like because they won 5 Super Bowls 30 years ago that they can always talk. We've only got the one Super Bowl. But we got that taste of what getting to the Super Bowl was like last year, and we expected it again. When we did talk at some point this offseason saying Jalen Hurts was obviously going to regress. The odds of him staying the same even as last year was going to be tough. The problem is the mistakes with Jalen Hurts. We don't usually see, at least last year, we didn't see this level of mistakes on a regular basis. The trust factor on this team is apparent, and it's all over the place. Exactly, EOP, Big Al. I never know whether should I answer Big Al, should I answer EOP? We'll just say Big Al. The fact that you're hearing different random excuses from Nick Sirianni at the podium on a regular basis just shows that he's trying to cover up this and that, cover up so many problems. I don't like to talk big picture at this point of the season, but these cracks, there's going to have, depending on how this season ends, there's going to have to be a serious conversation about the leadership of this team after the year. Now they get out in the playoffs and make another Super Bowl run. It'll gloss over all the problems. But man, as this season's trending right now, there has to be a conversation about the leadership of this team because you can't have lack of trust. You can't have continuity. You need everybody to be on the same page. That is how we got to the Super Bowl last year with great play, but also a fine-tuned organization, everybody on the same page. It's not happening anymore. I was doing something, but I almost dropped something when someone said, "Give." There were people calling for Tanner McGee. McKee. I don't want to get in trouble. I said McGee. It was a mistake. It was a slip of the tongue. Don't call out my pronunciation. Tanner McKee. I know the name. But who's calling for Tanner McKee? Really? Sidney Brown is evolving. Needs to work on a few things, but he's hungry. And this is the problem going forward here. I see potential in Sidney Brown. I saw potential on Monday night in Kellen Ringo. You're trying to get to the Super Bowl again. You're trying to win a Super Bowl, but you're also trying to develop your young talent. Young talent plays at the end of the season for bad teams, non-playoff teams, to get them experience for the next year. You want to get these guys experience and practice and ready for the future, but also you're trying to win. And so if you play these guys in these situations, you got to understand there was 2 plays at least that I saw Sidney Brown. One was just a blatant missed tackle. The other one, he missed the tackle because he took a bad angle. He got juked a little bit. Those things get better over time if he's really truly talented. Problem is, we can't risk him giving up a big play while in a learning moment like that because we're trying to win a Super Bowl. There's a fine line there of growing your youth while trying to win a Super Bowl. Again, that is where the victim of our own success comes into play. If we weren't in the Super Bowl last year, we wouldn't be saying Super Bowl or bust right now. We'd be saying different things. Marshawn missed the rapture. Yeah, exactly. Matt Patricia has no choice but to start Ringo and Ricks. Slay is hurt, and Bradbury clearly lost a step. You're taking a big risk. You're taking a big risk. A big risk doing that, though. Okay, and first off, it's not Matt Patricia. Supposedly, it's still Sean Desai's decision. Again, can't trust anybody in what they say. But again, are you willing to take a risk, start 2 rookies, at the end of the season when you have to win out to win the division? Now, so, I don't know how I feel about it. I won't lie. Starting 2 rookies on a supposed team, maybe you just go for it. Maybe you do. And if those 2 rookies can't stop Tommy DeVito and Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, and then Tommy DeVito again, then I guess we've got a problem. I guess you learn that they're not that good if they can't stop those 2 guys in 3 games. So maybe you do it. But clearly then you're sending a message that Bradbury won't be here next year, which he shouldn't be, but you got a whole contract situation to deal with in the offseason. But maybe also the positive that you can gain from sitting Bradbury down is sending a statement to this team that nobody is safe. Maybe by making that decision, you're saying, this is it. Put up or shut up. No star is safe. Play or you're going to get benched. Problem is, if he does that, then how does he justify not doing it with Quez Watkins? How does he justify not doing it with Sua Payton didn't do bad on Monday night. He wasn't the problem on Monday night. But when somebody else stinks for a long stretch, how do you not do it towards them? So if you're going to bench Bradbury, you better be willing to bench anybody that's not pulling their weight. But again, I'm not for it entirely, but again, it can't be the worst decision. It's always Big Al. I get in the heat of the moment, and I just read the name on the screen. I'm like, no, Big Al. I get confused. What's up, K1? We wouldn't be airing grievances about the D if we were still scoring 30 a game. Hurts was the problem against Seattle. Full stop. That's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, our offense our defense was top 10 last year, but our offense still technically carried this team. Early in the season, our defense wasn't great, but we were winning games because our offense was scoring. The offense is not scoring anymore. And it's a combination of things. It's a combination of Brian Johnson being exposed. Maybe it's a partially Nick Sirianni being exposed. It's Jalen Hurts regressing. Now, when I say Jalen, there's some people that say Jalen Hurts is regressing because they just got a beef and they don't want to see Jalen Hurts successful. I still want to see Jalen Hurts successful. He is still my quarterback going forward for the long term. I have no doubt in Jalen Hurts, big picture. Maybe this year I don't, but big picture, I have no problem with Jalen Hurts. So, but everybody's got to be better. And, Jalen Hurts has to find something inside of him that gets him back to the success that he had last year or closer to it. It's a problem. It is. The last Cowboys Super Bowl victory was bull. There was interference. There was a dinosaur on the field. Um, I'm entitled. I was out this team the minute we lost 3 in a row. Let this sink in. Eagles play the Giants, who the Niners play the Ravens, and Dallas play the Dolphins. The Niners Ravens game is the only chance we have left, really. We gotta hope for the Ravens there. But man, I mean, Eagles could be sitting at 1 again. They very well could be. And that's the thing. We're overreacting because of the 3 straight losses. We're overreacting. But again, remember, Martian, you might have missed the beginning of the show. I said it. I predicted the Eagles were going to be 13-4. I had them losing 3 out of 4. I had them losing the 49ers or the Bills winning against the 49ers and losing Cowboys in Seattle. And then winning the last 3 to get to 13-4, the 1 seat, and going to the Super Bowl. So before the season, just flip-flop that Bills and 49ers game. I have called this season to a T. And if normally I'd be happy about that. But I feel disappointed to an extent because of the way these last it's not like we lost close games. We lost a close game against Seattle, but the other 2 games were blowouts, and that's part of it. Tanner McGee isn't even calling. But you know it. You know, Al. You know Eagles Nation. They always love the backup. They always love the underdog story. People I call them the McKeisters. They should be sitting on their McKeister and stop talking. But there are people calling for Tanner McKee. There were people saying that he should have started over Mariota if Hurts couldn't go. Asinine. That's what I respond to with that, though, just so you know. Slim was open all night, and Hurts kept forcing it to AJ, and we should have had some problems. I actually came on. You know what's so funny? I deleted it. So I actually made a follow-up tweet. I actually tweeted. So there was a play late second, early third quarter. I forget where, K-Wad, where Devontae Smith took a really hard hit, and I thought he got up a little slow. All right? I forget where it was in the game. And then, like, 30 minutes later, I put out a tweet, and this was an honest tweet. Is Devontae Smith hurt, and why haven't the announcers addressed it? Because I haven't seen him on the field since he took that hard hit. And on that play right before that, he was wide open over the middle, and I didn't even. Jalen Hurts was so focused not on getting the ball to Devontae Smith that I didn't even see him on the field. The cameras were constantly going wherever Jalen goes. I didn't even know Devontae Smith was on the field for a stretch of game on Monday night because I thought he got hurt. But because Jalen wasn't even remotely looking in his direction, I never saw him on the field. That's how little he was looked at. And he focuses in on A.J. Brown. And you know what? Focusing on A.J. Brown is not a problem. A.J. Brown's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. One of the best. Stronger, bigger, and more physical than almost anybody out there. There's no cornerback that can stop him one-on-one. Strength versus strength. But the problem is you also have Devontae Smith. You can make A.J. Brown's job a lot easier by getting him the ball. You can make everybody's job a little bit easier by getting the ball to Quez. Well, somebody. You can get it to Julio. Dallas Goedert doesn't get enough targets. These great pass-catching running backs we supposedly have that we don't know about. Look, I'm not a Kenneth Gainwell supporter, but Kenneth Gainwell can catch the ball in the backfield. I think he touched the ball like 4 times the entire night. And it wasn't like he wasn't on the field. He was. Phil wants to leave early, but I think Eric will come soon with huge power chats and change. Now, I got to wrap up early today. Right around 9 o'clock, 9:10, we are going to wrap this up. I got catering to get to, catering work. The things that actually pay the bills need me today. I almost skipped and canceled the show, but I didn't want to disappoint the people that are actually watching today. Someone called Sidney Brown the next Troy Polamalu. I said, whoa, slow it down. I agree. You got to pump the brakes. There's potential with Sidney Brown. And I talked about it all training camp and early in the season. He needs to learn how to throttle down. And you saw those throttle down mistakes against Seattle, where he comes up full force and is easily juked and easily gets beat on double moves. He's so aggressive. He hasn't learned how to taper his aggression back and learn when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. Jalen Hurts is going through natural progression, much like Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick. Quarterbacks who are athletic and figuring out when to be athletic and when to be a pocket passer. And there's a fine line between that. And he's still figuring it out. And you know what? If he didn't have the jump from 21 to 22 like he did, I said it after last year. We've never seen a player in any sport locally have the season that Jalen Hurts in 21 versus the season in 22. I mean, that was an astronomical jump in success, statistically speaking, not just wins and losses and getting to the Super Bowl. So there's bound to be some regression because there's no way he was going to have that kind of season again. Not yet. But we built him up, put him on this pedestal. Still deserved the contract. Don't get me wrong. But we built him up. Time to have realistic expectations. Britton mid-returner Covey. Oh, Britton Covey's one of the best, actually. Lamar is back as an MVP candidate after a couple years down. That's a great comparison, Marshawn. That is. He won the MVP, and they had some issues there, contract issues, but also health issues with him. And now he's back to an MVP. I think that's a fantastic analysis or comparison right there. Analogy. That was the word I was looking for. I do. So we'll see how Jalen Hurts bounces back. But right now, there's no bouncing back per se. Jalen Hurts, this team and this season is what it is. It's not over. We can still make a run. But Jalen Hurts needs to just figure it out. And then this offseason, figure out what went wrong this year so that next year he could be better. So your point about taking risks and starting two rookie cornerbacks, the team fired their defense coordinator at 10-3. They didn't fire him. They just moved him to the booth. All this time is done. Yeah, and that's fair. And I think you're fair in saying that. You know, if you're going to make bold changes, you can only make so many, though, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, look, I'm not saying I'm against the idea. I'm just saying I'm cautious about it. That's all. Don't need to see Tommy DeVito throwing 400 yards against us. But you know what? He might throw 400 yards against us with James Bradbury out there. I mean, Sam Howell looked like Joe Montana for a while with those guys out there. Why did we let go of our only Super Bowl winning head coach and quarterback? Well, that's a Nick Foles comment. Look, Nick Foles, greatest backup of all time, not a great quarterback. The Doug Peterson thing, though, we've talked about it a lot this week, actually, bringing back the old thing. Once Doug Peterson had success and won a Super Bowl, Doug Peterson was a puppet for Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. He had success, and he tried to stand up for himself, and that's not Howie Roseman's way. So the big picture at the end of the year, Joe, is to have a conversation about Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie's philosophies on how they meddle in this team. But right now, there's nothing we can do about that. The young guys will struggle, but it's good to see these young guys around the ball because they have fresh legs and speed. We haven't had speed on the perimeter all year. True. And Kellen Ringo, again, I got into it with my man Jason Ashworth about it. We had a little back and forth. Kellen Ringo had one play. I think it was in the first half. Made a huge hit on a wide receiver out of bounds. Maybe it was a running back. I forget. Really lowered the boom, knocked them out. And Jason was like, oh, no. Bad tackling for him. I'm like, no, it was good for him because he had the sideline. He knew what he had. Anyway. But the point was that James Bradbury would have ignored that. Darius Slay would have avoided making that type of hit. That wide receiver would have gotten 10, 12 more yards downfield if it was one of those guys because the young guys aren't afraid. They're still trying to earn their bones. They're trying to earn their spot, their keep. So they're not afraid to make some bigger hits, to take some bigger shots. Over, under, Phil. Yeah, probably. I haven't had breakfast yet, so the first thing I do is turn the ovens on this morning, start chopping some lettuce, and yes, I will be eating a slice while I'm chopping lettuce. Sidney Brown could have the hair of Palomar. He could. It's about all he's going to have. How about Joel and Tyrese, though? I want to have a Sixers conversation for sure. Someday. Not today. We're final 15, 20 minutes of today's show already. But yeah, the Sixers are something right now. Jason Avant does a good job breaking down the problem on his show with Quentin Michael. Devontae and Gainwell were open consistently, and Hurts just forced it. Again, the question is, Is it Jalen Hurts forcing it, or is that the play call he's being told? Or is the play call to do something else and Jalen Hurts is forcing it? That's where that's what I need to have answered by these people. Is Jalen Hurts forcing it, or is the play because the play call is something else and the play call is something else, or is that just the call? Brian Johnson is not the problem. We're gonna find out. Brian Johnson not being in the quarterback room with Jalen isn't talked about enough. Is he not in the quarterback room? I would think your offensive coordinator would be in the quarterback room. Maybe not all day long, but I would assume the offensive coordinator and the head coach, who's an offensive-minded head coach, should be in that room a little bit. But it could be a fair point. It definitely could be a fair point. You guys went Herbert or Burrow. They got the loot and are much better. No, they're not. All this team as a whole needs to see a win, where they won 44-6. This team does need a win. More than anything, Marshawn. They just need to get off the snide, however they do it. Was that a Joey Zaza reference? Maybe. Maybe. Ravens defense coordinator was the Eagles' ace defensive backs coach last year. And I brought those stats up. Was it before? Maybe it was on Monday before the Seattle game about him and where the secondary was last year for the Eagles to this year, and where the Ravens secondary was last year to this year, and the change in numbers. Yeah, agree. It's a problem. Good morning, Eric. How you doing? You guys are relentless. Coming in late today. Unfortunately, the show's going to be late or early, ending early. Linebacker is selling Buddy Balls hats. LB. Okay, gotcha. Hail, Eric. Sorry, just late. You should have me on the. Oh, you just got to Florida? I was going to say, you should put me on Travis in the car and have Manny and you and Lauren, everybody listening. You guys be safe down there. I leave Saturday. Can't wait for Florida. K1, my lieutenant. Yeah, that's right. Phil, 51 and 35 from Joel and Tyrese. My worry is that 2 games in a row, they are the only players to score double digits. My big issue is the guy that I've supported through thick and thin is Tobias Harris, and how little he is producing. And now he's at the point where he was producing so poorly that now he's not even shooting. Like, they really need to find a better starting point. Like, they might have to just move Tobias Harris to the bench. Maybe you start starting Marcus Morris and Nicholas Batum once he's back and healthy again. You start both of them, maybe. Or you start Robert Covington in Harris's spot. I don't know. I saw a rumor that Detroit would be interested in Tobias Harris. Please. Please, just take him. Please. Get him off our. I never thought I would say that. Not in the quarterback room much like when he was the quarterback coach. That's fair. It could be the problem. And I think I saw somebody addressing that on another channel somewhere not too long ago. That maybe the loss of Brian Johnson, like we say, the loss of Shane Steichen as offensive coordinator is a problem. Losing Brian Johnson as the quarterback coach, maybe that was a problem. Kevin Petula, he's the passing game coordinator. I forget who the quarterback coach. Maybe they made a bad decision on that hire too. The Q&A show is great. Hurts is forcing because the play call you could see is because the ball comes out of his hands quick for those downfield. I saw that on Phil's Discord. Yeah, I don't have a Discord. Joey Zaza was a small-time crook. He bit more than he could chew. I officially saying the rapture did not happen yet. Eric, everybody's here now. Everybody's in late. But it was not what Michael wanted. Yeah, we did. We all listened to yesterday's show. It's funny you said that. That is hilarious. That probably put everybody in the back of the car asleep. Probably put Jackson and Mason asleep. Those dogs don't want to hear my voice. Tobias Harris is beyond saving. Man. Look, I was all for it. You know me, Marshawn. I've been one of the biggest Tobias Harris supporters, right along with Scotty, on a regular basis. But yeah, I think he's beyond saving at this point because I think now he's learned that before people thought yeah, I'm needed on this team. I think now we're realizing this team under Nick Nurse don't need Tobias Harris. He is a leader of this team. But man, move him for Brogdon, Bogdanovich. Yeah, move him for anybody. I still want another ball handler off the bench for the Sixers. I'm not sure how I feel about Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley's been great. Don't get me wrong, but he's our only other point guard option, realistically speaking, right now. And I don't see Beverley at this point as he's playing 20, 25 minutes a game sometimes 15, but he's got the ball in his hand every second that Tyrese Maxey's not out there. I kind of feel like he should be off the ball some too. So I like another ball handler on the bench. I don't even think we need another Tobias, like a replacement for Tobias Harris. I think Rocco and Morris combined can fill Tobias Harris's shoes just fine. Um, I just want to see another ball handler as an option on this team. Much like when Carson lost John DeFilippo and Wright. I think there's more of a correlation there than we realize, for sure. I really, really, really do. What's up, Mitchy Poo? Tobias only shot 1 3 last night. Not good. Not good at all, Mitchy Poo. Not even the least bit. TMC is the chief minister of the Bills. Thank you for breaking that. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, guys. Oh, I didn't mix my coffee up very well. The bottom of my cup of coffee is all like creamer. It's kind of gross. Look, make sure you guys are hitting the like button. Make sure you're hitting the share button. Make sure you're doing everything. And if you're watching on Twitter, because now people are watching on Twitter again, make sure you click on the video. It gives you the option to comment. Get your comments in here. We're in the final 10-ish minutes of today's show. Back to a regular hour-ish show today so I can work. I don't like Nick having Quez do anything but be a decoy. But see, you don't even need him to be a decoy because he's not a decoy. If Quez was a decoy, teams would have to be scared of him to be a decoy. Nobody is scared of Quez Watkins. Who? Who's scared of Quez Watkins? You can put Lamade Zaccheaus. I still go back to Lamade Zaccheaus' big touchdown grab a couple of weeks back. I mean, there's like a less than 1% chance that most wide receivers catch that ball. The elite of the elite only do. And he caught that. He's quick. He can get down the field. Maybe not Quez steep. But Quez Watkins proves that speed alone does not make a great wide receiver. Because there's no doubt that Quez Watkins is fast as hell. But, that's all he does is run. But he gets out muscled. He gets out physical. He's not good at blocking on bubble screens. He's not good at catching wide receiver screens. They don't use them in motion on jet sweeps. You want to get Quez Watkins going? Have the Eagles ran like a is it a jet sweep? I forget. I'm not really good with like technical terms. I think it's when the wide receiver comes in motion and gets the handoff and runs the sweep around. Is that a jet sweep? I think it is. Whatever it's called. You got somebody with Quez Watkins speed. Utilize him like that. But him running down the field, not being able to out-muscle people, it's wrong. Who approved the short show? I approved the short show. I did. This guy did. I have big problems with the short show. Well, you should have gotten in at the beginning of the show. You would have gotten all your comments. For the first 15 minutes, it was just Dave on Mad Chatter and me talking. That's it. By not spraying the ball around the field all game long so the hot hand can be established organically, you're not allowing your wide receiver quarterback to get into a rhythm. For sure. There hasn't been a rhythm on this team for weeks. Djax was super fast, but he was more than just speed. Speed is not enough. And if you're not big and strong like A.J. Brown to out-muscle your defender, you still got to learn to attack the ball. Quez Watkins just hopes the ball lands in his hands. When you see the ball coming up short, or you overran the play, or he underthrew it, whatever. It doesn't, you can attack it. You can go back to it. You can play defensive back. You can do something to break that interception up. Short show doesn't please the core 13. Well, my bills need to be paid. I hate to break it to you. And Duck, was it you? I saw somebody saying that something about me being ultra negative this week in Liam's last show. Guys, I don't know about me being negative. Critical might be the correct term, but negative, I think it was you, Doc. I think it was. How dare you? Calling a play, hoping for refs to bail you out. Sometimes I wish Nick studied Doug P's post-game interviews. Yeah, maybe he's a little too honest. Like, I don't know if he's covering up for a player or his offensive coordinator on that when he said that, or if he really means it. But yeah, if you really means it, just don't say it. That sounds pretty damn dumb. Hurts, for some reason, is not seen or is just locking in on a receiver. And again, I bring it up I brought this up before. Is it him locking in and or not reading it? Or is that just what the play call is? Is he being told, here's the play, deep route to A.J. Brown? It's up to him to, he could, if that's the case, he could still not audible down, but check down. But if he's being told and coached to go to A.J. Brown, or is it or is it Jalen Hurts' fault? Who's to blame? I kind of blame both. It was me, and it said the show in general. Okay, I was out and about yesterday. I was at Topgolf yesterday for my brother-in-law's birthday. Happy birthday, Patrick! It's your birthday today. And I just glanced at the show and I saw the comment. I'm like, I'm gonna get ducked for that tomorrow. But I didn't know the context of the conversation. No, Hurts isn't reading and reacting to what the defense is doing. And look, like I said, when I put the poll question up, a majority of the fans, 1,350 plus votes, 38.8% of the people voted, said it's on Jalen Hurts, not Nick Sirianni, not Brian Johnson. I mean, a lot of people voted for them as well, but you get what I'm saying. Liam did a deep dive into 90s Spice Girls, and hilarity ensued. The who? The Spice Girls? Are they still a thing? I don't know if they are or not, but yeah. Last season was reading the D. I don't get what has changed. I'm not sure. What's up, Anthony? This is the first time Anthony timing in on the show. What is up, my man? How you doing? Hard fit. Yeah, instead of a hard reset, we're gonna have a hard finish here. In the next 5-6 minutes here of the show. I'm just some people that I'm friends with on Facebook that chime in occasionally on a rare basis. I'm gonna see Anthony here, living it up down in Florida, my man. Love you, my man. I don't know who Sean is, but yeah. Building the offense to go through 3 players isn't sustainable because who is going to be 100% committed to running routes when you know you're not going to get the ball? You have to reward your guys. I agree, for sure. You have to. You have to. Baby Spice had it. Which I don't even remember which one was which. I honestly, they could walk right into my office right now, and I wouldn't know any of them are the Spice Girls. Our ships must all sail in the same direction. That's a deep comment right there. Very deep comment, K1. But yeah, it takes everybody. It takes a whole crew to sail a ship. Y'all got to be on when you're sailing. Y'all got to be on the same page. The entire crew, the entire Eagles are not on the same page. And to me, to an extent, I almost blame Nick Sirianni for a majority of the problems because he's the guy that's supposed to keep everybody on the same page. He's the leader. He's the captain of this ship. He's the guy that all his creative cliche sayings have run their course already to an extent. They were working before. They're not working now. We need one of his, cheesy sayings right now to get everybody back on board. But right now, his voice and his message is not resonating at all. So while we want to blame Jalen or we want to blame this player or that player, to me, a 3-game losing streak comes back to the head coach, the guy in charge. Baby Spice was the hottest one, I guess. If the team is not the same page, then the problem is the head coach. And exactly. Titanic was all over the place if we're talking ships. There was a little miscommunication on the Titanic, because everybody wasn't on the same page. Is it too soon to make Titanic jokes? Blessed are the peacemakers. Look, we're all here having a good time today, right? We're going to start the wrap-up process here, though, because the wrap-up process tends to take about 5 minutes. My GF3 references are sinking. Yeah, not working. It's not working today. The references just not happening. There's no time for a Godfather reference today. There's just not. There's not time to bring all that stuff in. But guys, I still firmly believe that they are a victim of their own success, the Eagles. And I believe that you can't blame just one person for their failures in the last 3 weeks. But winning the last 3 games of the season and winning them in pretty easy fashion can turn the opinions of this franchise and organization fan base around pretty quickly. Again, before the season, if I told you going into week 16, we were 10-4, already locked the playoffs berth up, and with still a chance to win the division and still an outside chance of the 1 seed, y'all would have been very happy knowing how difficult our schedule is. But the fashion that they've gone out here and lost these games and the cracks that we're seeing in this team is why we're having this negative, feeling on this show on a daily basis. We need some positivity to get back on track. We do. And it should happen. And it should happen this week against New York. But when you think about it this way, it's like if we're 10-4, we should be happy. We're 10-4, we're not happy. It's such a fine line between success and failure there. And it's a fine line of how they got to 10-4 versus being 10-4 and being positive about it. It also doesn't help that the 49ers are just running away against every team they face right now. It doesn't help that the 49ers look unbeatable right now. We have to beat the Giants, man. We have to. We don't just have to beat the Giants, Armand. We got to beat the Giants. We absolutely have to win our last 3 games. We lose one of the next 3 games. Then we're talking big problems because these are 3 very easily winnable games. But also 3 games that the opposing team have circled on their schedule and have probably all year. That's tough. It's a tough, fine line to even talk about it. Look, we're going to start the wrap-up, like I said here. Tomorrow, Brian Cameron, Flipping the Birds, Eagles lead writer and editor, joining me tomorrow for a section of the show. And there's no show on Monday for Christmas, so tomorrow will be our preview and prediction show. And tomorrow's question is, what can the Eagles do on Monday to give us a great Christmas present, but also to change our opinions? Can they do anything on Monday to change our perception of this team? That's how I'm going to phrase tomorrow. Can they? Does winning 44-6 on Sunday all of a sudden say things are back to being good? Or are we just going to say, but it was just the Giants? It doesn't matter. That's the question. It's fine the line between love and hate. All 10-4 are not made equally, and that's very fair. We have played the hardest schedule all year, and we are 10-4. Absolutely. Absolutely. Giants definitely ain't forget about that triple loss to us. I'm hoping we are ready for war. You better be. It's a division game, so you better be ready. All right, guys, trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Short 65-minute show today. Back to 90 minutes tomorrow. Maybe I'll give you 5 extra minutes tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe I'll make it 5 minutes tomorrow. Doubt it. We'll go 90 minutes tomorrow. But everybody have a great day. Everybody have a great Thursday. Happy birthday to my brother, Patrick. My brother-in-law, Patrick. Everybody have a great day. We will see you tomorrow. Brian Cameron on with me. Trending in the AM on Philadelphia Sports Network. Like, share, subscribe, follow, retweet, all that. Do it for me. Find me on Twitter, @BeardandKnowledge. Go Birds. Go Sixers for me and Marshawn. We'll talk tomorrow, guys.